Hi, my name is Andrew McLaren, and I want to help you figure out if you should eat lunch in your own classroom by yourself, with other teachers, or potentially have students come into your classroom. And there's no real right answer here, but as someone who's taught for 7 years, I have kind of done a little bit of all of the options, and I wanted to give my opinion because it's really kind of like there's peer pressure for teachers to eat with other teachers sometimes, depending on the team. That's kind of like the social thing. So if you don't go to that, some teachers might kind of resent that or hold that against you even, or view you as like not part of like the team. So that can come into play here, and you want to be careful with respecting everyone doing things a little bit differently. Some people may want to do that, but I personally don't think that people should have to have lunch with other teachers. This is our time off. And some people may want to socialize, but for me, if I've been teaching for like 4 hours, I'm pretty mentally strained and I'm looking for just kind of relaxing, low energy, just get the food in my system and go to the bathroom. And it can be really difficult to do that if you're also socializing, because oftentimes you're socializing about work, and these lunches can turn pretty nasty sometimes. And I've seen people talking very rudely about students or even making fun of their names, being very unprofessional during these work lunches. So you can be really frustrated with your students during the school day. And to get a bunch of very frustrated people together, some people would argue is cathartic. I did not view it that way. It really kind of just was nasty and actually caused people to have bias against students. Some people would say it's important to know what's going on in other classes with that student. It helps you have some um, consistency between all the teachers. I understand that. I value that. It is important for teachers to be consistent. But you should have like paid time, collaborative time where you guys are working on that. That's separate from your union. If you're at a public school, union mandated no work, duty free lunch. And so it's really important to respect that workers need a lunch, you need a break. And so it's not healthy for us to be working through these lunches, which is also the main reason that I nowadays would not really encourage students to come in my classroom unless it absolutely has to happen. Like they have a test that they need to take and they haven't taken it and it's been months and we have a grading period coming up in the next 2 weeks. They need to come in during lunch at that point, sure, but I would not do that regularly. And I wouldn't make that be like a normal thing for all the students to be able to access, because you really do need to have your own break. So you can have a student working quietly, but if it starts to become like classroom management, like if you've got like 4 or 5 kids in there, suddenly you're getting pulled into their socialization or even having to manage their behaviors and supervise them because students need a supervisor at all times when they're at school. And if they're in your classroom, guess what? They're now your responsibility. So you go to the bathroom while they're in your room? Not really. So it makes things difficult legally and logistically if we're having students come into the classroom during lunch. Um, the people who are in charge of monitoring the students during lunch typically don't like it because students can be unaccounted for walking in the halls as well. So I would encourage you not to have students come in during lunch, but also not have that be a hard no. So I would eat lunch in my own room, and I've kind of moved more towards that over the teaching years. I used to eat always with my team of teachers. I liked that group of teachers, and even with the people that I liked, I had to kind of take a step back and be like, I'm just eating by myself. And then I found when I started doing that in the other schools that I worked at, it was a lot more of a healthy boundary and it just felt better for me. I did feel more distant from the other teachers. I did not get to learn so much about them. And I do think that that affected our dynamics in other parts of the work, right? They may not have been so open with me or wanting to work with me if they didn't know me as well. So there's some drawbacks, but for me, to keep myself mentally um, at top of my game for the second part of the day, I needed that break. And I wasn't getting a break. I was basically working through my lunch, either talking about work or like social issues in society and things that are very stressful or potentially things that you may not want to start talking about with other people, like religion and other things can suddenly come up in that lunchtime. So you got to be careful in that because everyone's brains are like fried. So just be aware of that. If you are choosing to go into eating lunch with other people, There oftentimes will be lines that people cross. This is where teachers like to wear their hair down or relax a little bit and kind of act not always appropriate towards students. Um, or like they're acting appropriate with students, so when they get away from students, they act a little bit inappropriate, right? And because of that, it can cause issues with a healthy work environment because people might be making jokes that are offensive, and that can cause issues as well. I've had that with people that I've gone along great with. I had a number of things that they're passing their phone around, showing off things that they saw on Facebook. It was like totally not school appropriate, and it was like, oh well, now this is a little bit weird. So just be aware of that. I would encourage you to eat your lunch by yourself, though every person's a little bit different. Um, my main concern is that it's going to burn you out if you're not taking that 30 minutes for yourself. A little bit of quiet time does everyone good. Thank you for McLearning with me. Before you go, please check out the following services that I offer with my business. So if you click the link in my videos, this goes to my website. I might be changing it from Podia because I'm no longer doing the interactive videos for sale. I might put those up for free. But most of my other services are linked here. So you can see that I've got like a Teachers Pay Teachers and a Wyzant. The Teachers Pay Teachers has a lot of my assessments that I have for like the NGSS, as well as lessons that I made when I was actually a teacher in the classroom. So I've got quite a few things like CERs and other things on there. If you want to get one-on-one live support from me, either like with science or like working on like teaching support lessons and that kind of stuff, you can sign up through Wyzant. I have a link to there where you can contact me there, and we can schedule hourly appointments. And I've got a few other things on here like a Facebook page, and other social media. And if you're interested in getting professional development with me for like a team of teachers, a whole page with information on that. So yeah, feel free to check that out. Thank you.